Thank you for joining us today. This is the Recycle Right in Mecklenburg County presentation. Our goal today is to educate residents on how to put the right thing in the right can, going to the right place. I wanted to let everybody know that the goal of today's presentation is to educate and empower you. We're not here to shame you. We're not here to convince you to drastically change your habits. In fact, if everyone makes small improvements to their recycling habits together, we're going to make a really big difference. So we appreciate your efforts, your cooperation, and your willingness to learn. Today's presentation will be given by me, Maitri Meyer, and Walker Spruill, and we do have Laura Heiser helping out with technology, and she will be with you on the chat on the back end. Please note that this presentation was designed for Mecklenburg County residents for single-family homes that have curbside residential recycling pickup. So this is not for multifamily dwellings such as apartments, condominiums, senior centers, etc., because they hire their own private haulers to come collect their recyclables, and they might take them to a different location. They might take them to the Mecklenburg County recycling facility, and they might not. So know that your recycling, if you are in a multifamily dwelling, is probably similar, but might be a little bit different. So you're going to want to check your local guidelines.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of recycling here in Mecklenburg County, watch this 4-minute video that shows what happens after the materials are collected from your home. It's our own little personal recycling journey in Mecklenburg County. Enjoy!
It's recycling day. Have you ever wondered where your recycling actually goes? First, recycling carts are wheeled to the curb for pickup. The recycling truck then comes through neighborhoods collecting the recyclables with large hydraulic arms that pick up the cart and then empty the recyclables into the truck. Once the trucks are full, they head to the Metrolina Recycling Center. To keep the material clean, you should only put paper, cardboard, aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and jugs into your recycling cart at home, school, and work, and in the bins at the full and self-service recycling centers. And never place plastic bags in the recycling bin because they can potentially damage the machinery. Plastic bags can be recycled at many retailers. The trucks arriving at the facility are first weighed at the scale house. Trucks come from the Mecklenburg County area, including neighborhoods in Charlotte, Huntersville, Mint Hill, Matthews, Cornelius, Davidson, and Pineville, as well as the full and self-service recycling centers in Mecklenburg County. The recyclable materials collected by the trucks are emptied on the tipping floor. Between 400 and 500 tons of paper, cardboard, aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and jugs arrive daily and must be sorted by the network of equipment and people at the facility. The material is pushed from the tipping floor into a hopper, which starts to uncompact the mixed material with a rotating drum. After going through the rotating drum, the material moves on to the first of many conveyor belts that quickly move the material. The material first goes through the pre-sort cabin, where workers remove as much unacceptable material as possible from the fast-moving conveyor belt. It's very important to keep the unacceptable materials out of the recycling stream because these items can create safety hazards, seriously damage machinery, and stop facility operations. Then the material moves on through a system of magnets which separate the steel cans. Plastic bottles and containers are sorted by optical sorters that use air jets to direct the plastics to the correct bunker. The system is designed to handle the Recycle Right household recyclables: paper, cardboard, aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and jugs. The recycling facility processes over 30 tons of material per hour. After the material is sorted, it's loaded into bunkers. Then the material types are sent through balers to compact the material into bales to prepare them for sale and shipping. The bales can weigh 1,000 to 1,500 pounds depending on the material. Baling the material allows for efficient storage and shipping. Anything other than the Recycle Right household recyclables, like paper, cardboard, aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and jugs, are actually not handled properly in the system and goes out as residue into a trash compactor. This wishful recycling can cause a backup and even damage the system. The Metrolina Recycling Center also offers group tours that will allow you to see this amazing process for yourself and learn more about recycling so you can recycle right. Recycling right is very important for employee safety, protecting the machinery, reducing disposal and operating costs, facility efficiency, and creating clean bales of marketable materials to be recycled into new items. So remember, only place paper, cardboard, aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and jugs in your recycling cart at home, school, work, and at the full and self-service recycling centers. And always recycle right.
So, when we say recycle right, what exactly do we mean? That means that we are only putting into our recycling bins the accepted items for our community. We want to reduce contamination, and contamination is anything making it into the bin that is not able to be recycled in this system. And right now, unfortunately, of what we send to the market, about 1 in 5 items coming in can't even be resold. When we come to recycling right, it used to be recycle everything, recycle often, every time you have something. But now we really have to focus on recycling only the correct materials. So everybody knows about our 3 R's of waste reduction, and that's reduce, reuse, recycle. But it turns out that's just not enough anymore. And so here in Mecklenburg County, we actually created a level 2 presentation called the 7 R's of waste reduction. And that's where we get into rethinking, refusing, reducing, rot or compost, reuse, repurpose, and then finally recycle right. Because when we are repurposing these things in our lives, it helps to boost the value of what we have now. And so, if you're interested in joining us for that level 2 presentation, you can see right here on the screen, we have an email, and you can email solidwaste@mecknc.gov, and they will get you invited to the next 7 R's of waste reduction presentation.
Excellent. So now it's time to talk about something that we probably all do: wishful recycling. Wishful recyclers put items into the curbside recycling bin, hoping that they'll be recycled. Unfortunately, when we do this, it's a big challenge for the county to get them out. In fact, it's a big challenge nationwide. This results in contaminated bales that are difficult for us to sell, damaged machinery, frequent fires at our recycling center and other collection points, and even injured workers. Remember, we ultimately have to take all of those items out, put them into another truck, and ship them to the landfill. So, if there's one thing that you can do to really help us out, would be to try to work on your wishful recycling to become a recovering wishful recycler so that you no longer are addicted to wanting to put everything into the recycling bin. We know you mean well, and we know how hard it is to throw something away when you're not 100% sure because you really want it to be recyclable. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time. In fact, it costs us a lot of money to be pulling those items out. For those of you that like numbers, this is the slide with the most numbers on it. We calculated per year on average how much it costs the county to be separating out items that we can't actually recycle. So, as I said before, we get about 50 to 60 truckloads of materials every day. Our contamination rate is about 1 out of 5, so 20%. But let's say we do really good at educating our community and we get that down to 15%. That means we will only have 60 tons of trash per day to be sorted and hauled to the landfill. That's only 10 to 12 truckloads that have to take everything and dump it to the landfill. That's still a lot. In fact, it costs us about $7,500 per day to be dumping those in the landfill. We work 5 days a week, so it's over $37,000 per week. We work 52 weeks out of the year because for some reason, even during the holidays, people are still throwing things away. So that is almost one or over $1.9 million per year that Mecklenburg County is spending taking items out of the recycling carts that really shouldn't have been there to begin with. We would much rather use that money to be upgrading our facilities so that in the long run, we can accept even more materials. That's why we need your help to help us reduce wishful recycling.
So, what is the one thing that you can do starting today that would help us the most? No plastic bags in your recycling. When plastic bags end up, whether you bag up your recyclables or you put the plastic bags or soft plastics in your bin, what happens is those get, of course, brought to our facilities, and they can actually shut down the entire facility so that nobody can do any work. And if you watch that 4-minute video, you see how it is one giant system. So right here, we have a view of what just got dumped out of a truck at our material recovery facility. And you can see there's lots of very high valuable goods in here. But you can also see there's a lot of bags, a lot of plastic bags. And what happens is when those get put into our system, they end up wrapped around all of our machinery. And instead of the machines working properly to say, in this example right here, remove paper from the recycling stream, now we miss out on those paper materials because these plastic bags don't let anything fall through those bars as they're supposed to. And so when we say it shuts down the facility, it means all the machines stop, all the people stop working, except for the people who have to go up there with scissors and knives and cut out every single plastic bag. So please, no plastic bags in your recycling. Now, here is a very quick overview of the no's for our recycling. So these are things that we do not accept, and there's a lot of them, which is kind of why we start with the no's. Because if you really focus on every single little thing, is it not, it gets very cumbersome. So real quick overview, we're going to say anything that can get tangled in the machinery. So again, those plastic bags, also hoses, lights that you would hang outside or on a tree, anything that tangles like that, any kind of rope that needs to stay out of your recycling. Also, anything that can harm workers. So anything that's sharp, say needles or machinery, anything like that that can hurt workers as it's running through that system. So we also have anything that can explode. So that includes rechargeable batteries, because rechargeable batteries don't belong in your trash or your recycling. They need to be handled separately, because what happens is when they end up in that big truck and it gets tumbled around, when that plastic exterior breaks, they absolutely start fires. And if they're in our recycling, it's burning up all that paper and cardboard and things that we need. And talk about shutting down a facility when you have a fire. So, and then on top of that, anything else that can catch on fire. So propane tanks, yes, they're metal. That is not recyclable in your recycling bin. Any kind of gas can or anything that had a flammable in it, we need to consciously go out of our way to deal with those. And so a lot of these items, while they are not recyclable in your curbside cart, they can be recycled at our full service drop-off centers here in Mecklenburg County. And so here's a quick shot of the county, and you can see where the 4 drop-off facilities are strategically placed to make it easy for you to take your non-recyclables, those things like scrap metal car parts, and things like that. And here's a little trick too. I know that this presentation is for residents who have the curbside haul away bins, but we also accept all of these single stream recyclables right here at our full service drop off centers. So all the same rules apply. You just need to be a resident and go in. And if you're a non resident, then you can buy a pass to be able to use the facilities yourself.
Excellent. So we've already provided you a lot of information and we have focused on what we want you to not do. Now we want to focus on what we do want you to do. So there are 6 categories of what we can accept. The first is paper. Paper includes office paper, junk mail, newspaper, magazines. Doesn't matter if they're glossy or not. Anything that when you rip it, it has fibers inside of it. The only thing that is very important is the size and the shape. We ask that paper be the size of typical junk mail. So a business size envelope, a postcard, or bigger. If you put something like shredded paper into your curbside cart, it's going to fall through the screens at the recycling center and end up in the glass pile. So the actual item, the material is important, but also the size and shape of it. The second category is cartons, and these are mostly found in your refrigerator. So these are milk, juice, broth, things like that. These can be recycled. Just make sure that they're rinsed out first. Nobody wants sour milk in their recycling cart, contaminating their newspaper and their cardboard and making everything stinky. The next category is the cardboard. This is the cardboard, the box board, which are like the small boxes, like cereal boxes or tissue boxes. This can also include cardboard egg cartons or clean pizza boxes. If there's no grease or cheese in it, yes, we will accept your pizza boxes. The only thing that we ask is that you flatten the cardboard and make sure it's loose in your cart so that when the truck comes, it can actually empty it without it getting stuck and blocking everything else. And even more importantly, is that you remove anything that's not recyclable that could be inside those shipping boxes: styrofoam peanuts, styrofoam inserts, plastic bags, any plastic pieces, anything that is not cardboard needs to be taken out first. Cardboard is a very high value commodity. In fact, it can be recycled over and over and over again. So we very much want you to be recycling your cardboard. The next category is metal. And just like the other categories, you need to prepare it first and you need to make sure that it's in the correct form. When it comes to metal, the easiest way to remember is we can only accept it in the form of a can. So it can be a typical food or beverage can. It can be made of steel, tin, aluminum, and we can accept aerosol cans as long as they are 100% empty. So it's really important that you shake that up and spray it multiple times to make sure that it is not a flammable hazard. Remember, no scrap metal, no hangers, nothing else that is not in the shape of a can. That's very important. And again, we need to make sure that the item is clean, dry, and empty. So if you have a tuna fish can, we really want to make sure there's no tuna in the bottom. The next category is glass. And again, the shape of the container is important. We can only accept glass bottles or jars. So these are food grade bottles or jars, not drinking glasses, not ceramic, not porcelain, not picture frames, aquariums, mirrors, nothing like that. Only glass bottles and jars that most likely had food in it. And it doesn't matter what color it is. We can accept clear, brown, amber, green, cobalt blue, doesn't matter, wine bottles of any color. And the labels and lids can remain on. That's not a problem. If you want to throw them away, you want to rip them off, that's fabulous, but it is not required. Now, the sixth and final category, it usually causes the most confusion among residents. This is the plastic category. And the easiest way to remember is If it's made out of plastic, is it a bottle or a jug with a pourable neck or spout that's smaller on the top than it is on the base? So to remind yourself, we ask you to touch your neck and trace down your shoulders. If the bottle or jug has that shape, it is a type of plastic that we want. A frequently asked question is, well, what about the numbers on the bottom? With the chasing arrows, do you guys accept ones or twos or fives or sevens? Unfortunately, those plastic resin codes that are on the bottom are no longer reliable because plastics are being mixed, different types of plastics that have different melting points into one package, one container. Therefore, we can only accept the pure plastics, and we know for sure the bottles and jugs with necks that are pictured here: shampoo, laundry, milk, soda, water, vinegar, those types of things are a plastic that are in high demand that we can sort and we can sell. So, this is when that phrase becomes really important. When in doubt, throw it out. If it's not pictured on this slide, we're going to ask you to not put it in your recycling cart and instead, please put it into your trash bin. Now, remember, all items must be clean, dry, and empty and placed loosely in your cart, not in a bag and not one thing inside of another thing. They each need to be individual and loose so it's easier to sort when they come across the conveyor belt. We did send out in the pre-event resources email a brochure. And inside that brochure, it has the list of the 6 categories and a list of some of the common no's and a list of the 4 full service drop off centers on the back. Please print it, post it wherever you collect your recyclables, and we will send you a link again in the post resource email. Okay, so on the bottom of nearly every slide in this presentation, we've had a website, wipeoutwaste.com, and that goes to the Mecklenburg County Solid Waste Department's main information page because we're trying to make sure that finding your recycling resources is as easy as 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 steps. Go to wipeoutwaste.com. This will be the home page. On that page, go to where it says cool or videos and cool recycle tools. Number 2, and then that will open up a new window that has these different videos and cool tools. And there you will have several of the brochures, the flyers, a pre-recorded presentation of this educational video, and some other resources for kids all the way through adults. And there are items in Spanish there as well that you can share widely. So,
all right. So this is where we get a little silly and fun because this has been a lot of information that we're throwing at you. And so just to kind of land what all of this is into our everyday lives, we're going to turn this into our little game from Sesame Street. And that is, which packing material should go into the recycling cart? So we're only going to pick one. Is it going to be styrofoam peanuts, a plastic shipping package, air pillows, shredded paper, or cardboard boxes? So everybody yell out at the screen which packing material should go in the cart. And I know all of you got that right. It is cardboard, which can be recycled into cardboard boxes like 7 to 10 more times. But what needs to happen before it goes into your bin is everything needs to come out of it and it needs to be flattened down. Frequently asked question, do I need to remove the tape? You can, you don't have to, but just make sure that it's flat and there's nothing inside that box. Now, what do I do with all of these other packing materials? And when it comes to that package, the shipping package, if you look, there's a red arrow there, and it actually has a special symbol that says store drop off. And it turns out that those plastic shipping packages can be recycled with your plastic bags and those plastic air pillows on screen at your retailers with your clean, dry grocery bags that you're taking back to the retailer to recycle. Now, when it comes to styrofoam, styrofoam is not recyclable. If you can avoid it and refuse it, that's great. If you can reuse it, that's great too. But that does not go into your recycling cart. It actually needs to be bagged up in your garbage. And then when it comes to shredded paper, yes, it's paper, but what happens is if shredded paper makes it into our facility, it makes a huge mess and spills everywhere into all of our broken glass and those other high value materials. And so shredded paper, you need to deal with that separately. It either goes in your garbage can at home, or I like to say in our 7Rs that it makes great compost material. So, but our packaged material we do want is those cardboard boxes. Now, which metal object should go into your recycling cart? We have aerosol cans, we have a watering can, a gasoline can, screws and nails, aluminum gutters, and car parts. So, which one does go into your recycling cart? That is going to be your aerosol cans. And remember, they need to be totally empty. That means shake them up, tip them upside down, spray them out so that they don't explode in the system and hurt the workers and the machinery. Now, a lot of this other stuff can go to our full service drop off centers. All of that scrap metal can be recycled in our scrap metal special recycling collection point. Now, when it comes to that gasoline can and some car parts, those need to go to our hazardous household waste collection points. And those are at our full service drop off centers too. So, really, it's a one stop shop for everything you need right there at our, and you can find out again more at wipeoutwaste.com.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to get a little harder now. We're going to move into the plastics. Which plastic object should go into your recycling cart? What about plastic bags? If anybody thinks that plastic bags go into the recycling cart, I would like you to put a private note in the chat. Hey, Maitri, call me afterwards. You already know plastic bags never go in your recycling cart. So what about a plastic kiddie pool or single-use utensils and cups, a salad dressing bottle, a storage tote, or a garden hose? Which one goes into your recycling cart? If you're shouting out the salad dressing bottle, you are correct. And now I know everybody is thinking, okay, what about the labels and the cap? So the first thing you need to do is eat all the salad dressing and rinse it out. We don't want any oily residue in there that's going to contaminate the plastic. With regard to the cap, you have a couple options. You can either take it off and throw it in the garbage can, or you can screw it on tight and it can be sent into your recycling cart, into the system with the rest of the plastic bottle. The only thing we ask is that you never put anything like a lid or a cap or anything small into your recycling cart separately, because anything smaller than about a business size envelope will end up in our shattered glass pile. You can go ahead and leave the labels on. They will be taken care of in the process. So and nothing else on this page is in the form of a bottle or a jug with a pourable neck or spout. Therefore, none of the other items can go into your recycling cart. And we definitely know that garden hose would tangle in our machinery. So I need you to start thinking early on about the 7 R's of waste reduction. What would you do with some of these items if you can't recycle them? So our final game, and this is usually the hardest one, which food container should go into your recycling cart? Is it a zip pouch, yogurt cups, a cereal box, a nut container that is made out of metal and cardboard and foil with a plastic lid, a produce clamshell that fruit and vegetables often come in? How about a deli container or a styrofoam takeout container? Which of those items, and remember, only one of them, should be going into your recycling cart? If you answered the cereal box board, that is correct. And what do you need to do first? Eat all those Lucky Charms or Cheerios or pieces of cereal. We don't want those to end up falling through the screens and contaminating our glass pile. And please take out that evil plastic bag that's going to wrap around our machines. Now, what about those other items? I mean, clamshells, they probably have a one or a two on the bottom, and the deli container might, and the yogurt cups, maybe they're a five or sometimes they're a two. Remember earlier I said the numbers on the bottom and the chasing arrows are no longer reliable? Don't even bother putting on your reading glasses and turning it upside down. Those are probably mixed plastics and they can contaminate the entire batch when they're melted down. That zip pouch, that is a sturdy bag. They can often be washed in your dishwasher and reused over and over. The peanut can, that's a mixed material. It's not 100% cardboard. It's not a metal in the form of a can, and it's not a plastic in the form of a bottle or a jug. And styrofoam is just plain difficult. So only the cereal box.
So we've done this presentation over 100 times. And so we have some pretty frequently asked questions, and we're just going to hit them right here with you. So what about foil, aluminum foil, foil pans? And those are not recyclable. Typically, they have food on them, first of all, and nobody in the system wants to be dealing with your leftovers. But also remember, these are not in the shape of a can. So we only accept metal in our curbside recycling in the shape of a can because of the way that it can be processed within the system. Aluminum foil gets disguised as other things when it makes it into the system, and pans too. Another question is, what about those little plastic windows in my junk mail and in my pasta boxes? And those are totally fine. You can leave those on there. They're easy to remove in the recycling process of recycling paper. As long as you go ahead and flatten down those boxes to make it work better in our system, we will make sure that it gets to the people who can recycle them with or without that little plastic window. You can leave those right in there. Now, what about the lids of our cans? And the lids to jars. So lids and labels, they can stay on as long as, like on a metal can, if you open the metal can and that whole top piece comes off, then that does not go in your curbside recycling. However, if you can get it inside that clean, dry metal can and maybe squeeze the top a little bit, that lid can stay in there and get recycled with the can. Labels, you can totally leave it on. And when it comes to your glass jars, you can empty out, eat up all those pickles, right? Rinse it out, and then put that lid right back on there into the system. And then finally, I know Maitri touched on it a little bit, but what about pizza boxes? So yes, we want the cardboard, but no, we don't want your leftover pizza. So if it's greasy, what I do is I tear off the greasy part and I recycle the part that's clean. Otherwise, that grease contaminates the other paper that we have, and it makes it harder and stinkier working within the system. And Maitri's come up with a great line that says, if your recycling bin stinks, then you're doing it wrong. So let's go ahead and make sure we remove anything that has food on it, like that greasy pizza box, and recycle the clean parts, because we do want that cardboard. So what can you do now that we've given you all of this information? And I know it's a lot. We really just, of the things that we've told you, what is it that's actually, ringing true with you right now? What is something that is in your life that you're willing to commit to changing today? Because that's what it takes, is all of us making these little imperfect changes that we know aren't going to change the world, but this is what I have to do. When we all start making those little changes, it adds up to changing everything. So what is one thing that you're willing to commit to today? And go ahead and put that in our Q&A in the chat, and we will share a few of those when we get into our Q&A at the end.
So now I'm going to let you know something else that you can do that would be very helpful for us. You can share these presentations that Mecklenburg County offers every month for free for our residents with others so that they can learn the same information that you've learned today. So we've created a bit.ly link, a QR code, some graphics, and we're going to send these to you in the post resources email. We ask that you share it on social media or with any groups that you have email lists for. That would be great. And if you have a group of 20 or more local residents from an HOA, a nonprofit, a faith based organization, or professional group that you would like us to come and speak to, we are happy to do that. Just email us and we'll get that set up. So that's the end of the official presentation. Thank you so much for joining today. Remember to recycle right. If you have any questions, you can contact Mecklenburg County Solid Waste. Here's their phone number. Their email is solidwaste@mecknc.gov. And they do have a few social media platforms. We would love it if you followed and shared the posts that are there with others. And remember, you can always visit the website wipeoutwaste.com. When in doubt, throw it out or give us a shout.